Hello everyone, it's Faustin here, and today I'm gonna be performing an ETL process, which stands for extract, transform, and load. Before we do anything, we'll have to create a staging database into our SQL Server so that it can hold the data set that has been given to us. So without further delay, let me open my SQL Server and create a staging database. Go there, create a new database. Let me just call it staging DB. Now that we have created the staging DB, we will load data into this database before transforming them and loading them into the data warehouse. And I will not be creating any table from Microsoft SQL Server because I will use Microsoft Visual Studio to create those tables from Visual Studio. So let's open Visual Studio. Let me create a new project. I will create an integration services because it's actually the one responsible for ETL process. On top there you have analysis services, and down here we have reporting services. These two, we'll talk about them later, but for now let's just concentrate on integration services. So let me just leave everything the way they are. Let me just save it here. Okay, and okay. Let me rename my package here. Just call it calendar. Because I'm gonna be using a calendar CSV file, so just rename it calendar for reference. Okay, let me create a new connection manager. Since it's a CSV file, it's a flat file. Let me add it there. Let me call it my connection. You can just name it anything you want, but I just call it my connection. You can put any description there. Let me browse where my files are. A CSV file. Yeah, this is the calendar file I was talking about. Let me check the column here. All right. Advanced preview. Okay. Let me just click OK. Now that we have created our connection manager, let's now go to the control flow and drag and drop data flow task. I'm just gonna leave it as a default, but you can rename it as you like according to your organization. Let me double click it. And from here, I can add source assistant to connect it with my connection manager, but I'll prefer to use other sources here. We have a flat file source. Drag it there and let me double click it. Our connection manager is already selected there. If it wasn't there, I could have just clicked new and create another, or if I didn't create the connection manager, I could just create it from here. But since I've already created one, let me just cancel. Let me check my columns. Okay, it's the date. All right, let me click OK. Let me position it there. And then for the destination, let me drag OLEDB destination, because we are using SQL Server as our destination targets. Because remember, we did create the staging DB into the SQL Server. So the connection that we'll be using is OLEDB. Now, let me connect to my destination. Let me double click here and create a new connection. Let me delete that one. New. Since we are on a local server, let me just put a dot. Let me refresh. Now let me see if the connection is established. Yeah, I see all my database from SQL Server, and this is the staging DB that we created. Okay, let me test the connection. Succeeded. Okay, okay, okay. Now remember, we did not create any table. So if I check here, no tables or views could be loaded. There is no table or view. So let me create a new one. This is a SQL Server script to create a table. So it's already there. Let me just put the name calendar and click OK. Let me go to mappings. Okay. Right. Now let me execute the calendar package so that it can load into the staging DB. As you can see, it shows that everything has just succeeded. So let's check in our SQL Server, staging DB, tables, and here we have our calendar table that was created using Microsoft Visual Studio and SSIS package. So let's try and select the top 1000 rows. There we go. Now we have to take all those CSV files and load them into our staging DB. But there is a method that you can use to take them at once and load them into the staging DB. You can use either PowerShell or Microsoft Visual Studio, but I prefer to use Python programming language. In my next tutorial, I'm going to show you how I can perform that task using Python so that we can take all the CSV files in that folder and load them into the staging database before transforming them and loading them into the data warehouse that we're going to be creating. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.